Alright, so part A wants us to find f of negative 10. F of negative 10 looks like it's equal to 6. Um, re recall that f of x is equal to y, and so when they ask us to figure out what f of negative 10 is, it's basically saying if x equals negative 10, then what's y equal to? And if we look at the graph and we find x equals negative 10, we see that the associated y-coordinate is 6. So at x equal negative 10, the y-coordinate is 6. So part A, the answer is 6. Is f of 6 positive or negative? Um, well, so if we find x equals 6, there's the point that's associated with x equals 6, and it looks like f of 6 is equal to negative 4. The y-coordinate is negative 4, and of course that's a negative number. So f of 6 is negative. It's actually negative 4. For what numbers x is f of x equals 0? Well, f of x is equal to y. So they're basically asking me what x coordinates have a y coordinate of 0. And if x is equal to negative 6, it looks like the y coordinate is 0. If Notice that if x equals 10, the y coordinate is 0. And we have another one right here. If x is equal to 7.5, it looks like. Right, because each marking is 2. So we have 2, 4, 6. It looks like it's 7.5. The y coordinate would be 0. For what numbers x is y greater than 0, f of x greater than 0? They want me to identify all the x coordinates that have positive y coordinates. It looks like if if x is between negative 10 and negative 6, if x is any number between negative 10 and negative 6, the y coordinate is positive. Also, if x is in between 7.5 and positive 10, the y coordinate would be positive. And so one way to answer would be interval notation, or you could use an inequality. If x is any number between negative 10 and negative 6, the y coordinate would be positive. And if x is any number between 7.5 and 10, the y coordinate would be positive. So we could answer in interval notation or as an inequality. For what numbers x is f of x less than 0? What x coordinates have negative y coordinates? It looks like if x is any number in between negative 6 and 7.5, the y coordinate would be negative. And so we could answer in interval notation once again, or we could write the answer as an inequality. What is the domain of f? The domain is from negative 10 to 10. The x coordinates go from a low of negative 10 to 10. And once again, we can answer in interval notation, or another way to answer would be as an inequality, which we could put in set notation if we wanted to. What is the range? The y coordinates go from a low of looks like negative 8, and the highest y coordinate. The highest y coordinate's kind of hard to see actually. Here's the highest y coordinate up here, and so it looks like that might be like 11. You know, that's the range on this question might, if this were on the test, it needs a little bit more clarification. It looks like the highest y coordinate is 11 to me, but it's not labeled, so if someone put 12, I think the grader would need to mark this right, because this point right here, the y coordinate isn't labeled. It looks like it's 11, so negative 8 to 11, and we could answer an interval notation or as an inequality once again. What are the x-intercepts? We have an x-intercept at -6, 0, and we have an x-intercept at 7.50, and finally 10, 0. What is the y-intercept? The y-intercept looks like it's at 0, -6. How often does the line y equals 8 intersect the graph? Well, this right here is the line y equals 8. And it hits the graph twice. Part K, how often does x equal -2 intersect the graph? Here's the line x equal -2, and it looks like it hits once. Part L, for what number x does f of x equal -8? In other words, what x-coordinate has a y-coordinate of -8? And that point right here on the bottom, that looks like it's the only point that has a y-coordinate of -8, and the x-coordinate is 2. So at x equals 2, f of x, or y, equals -8.